Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, November 13th, and this is our regular board meeting from the Rossmoor Community Services District. Liz, can I get a roll call?
Director Nittigman?
Here.
Director Casey?
Here.
Director Maynard?
Here.
President DeMarco?
Here.
And Director Kahlert has an excused absence this evening.
Okay, thank you. And this evening, we have special guests from our youth center. Can I call up Shannon Butterfield and is it Neva Finn, Ann Finn, and Connor Finn to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight? Come on up to the podium here. Don't be shy. There's no cameras or nothing. Not on TV.
Yeah.
And can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And we will take, you can lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before you leave, you guys introduce yourself. Bring that mic down, and you guys, who's here tonight?
It was a little one.
I see him still.
Yeah.
My name is Connor Finn, and I'm 7 years old.
Thank you very much for coming. And who else do we have?
My name is Nevaeh Finn, and I am 13 years old.
Welcome.
My name is Ariana Finn, and I'm 13 years old.
Great.
And my name is Shannon Butterfield. And my family and I have been a part of the youth center for 3 years now, and they've become a second family to us, and they've been very supportive, especially if I have to deploy in a moment's notice or anything like that. They're just amazing people.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming down tonight and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one presentation. Orange County Sheriff Department, Lieutenant Pat Rich, and our quarterly crime statistics. Good evening, Lieutenant Rich.
Hard act to follow.
Yes, yes.
Very tough act to follow. Not near as articulate or as good looking as they all are. Ladies and gentlemen, directors, President DeMarco, I'm Lieutenant Patrick Rich, and I am here to present the third quarter crime stats for the community of Rossmoor. In the third quarter of 2018, which was comprised of, July, August, and September of 18, there were 11 Part 1 crimes to report. In July, there were 6 of those, which included a vehicle burglary, where a parked vehicle, the window was smashed out, and there was a loss of camera equipment, sunglasses, and a parking remote. On July 22nd on Forester Road, someone removed the tires and wheels off of a parked vehicle. On July 27th at the 3000 block of Inverness, a lantern and a flag was removed off of a victim's porch. On 7/28 on Chaucer Road, a victim's wallet, its contents, glasses, and the pink slip were removed from the glove box of an unlocked vehicle. And on 7/31 on Pemberton Road, a theft of a purse and contents from an unlocked vehicle, once again parked in a driveway overnight. Also in the month of July, there was 1 auto theft, a stolen vehicle, and that was a 1987 Mercedes that was stolen out of someone's driveway while they were on vacation. In the month of August 2018, there were 3 crimes to report, 2 petty thefts, one at Albans Drive, where a pair of earrings was reported missing after construction workers were working inside the residence. On August 28th, on Loch Lomond Road, construction tools were removed from an unlocked vehicle parked on the street overnight. And also in August, there was another stolen vehicle off of Montecito Road. A 2000 Honda Civic was taken out of the parking lot. In September of 2018, there was 1 vandalism, and unfortunately, that occurred here at the park where a tree was damaged, eggs were thrown, and paint was sprayed on the cement at the park. There was also, in the beginning of the month of September, a vehicle stolen, once again from Montecito Road, and that was a 2016 F-350 Super Duty truck. That is all the crimes that I have to report for the third quarter. I do have a couple events that I would like to go over. In October, although not part of the quarter, I would probably forget about it before the next time I was here. The Sheriff's Department was very pleased to participate in the National Walk to School Day, and that was at Rossmoor and Lee Elementaries. Deputies came out with other citizens and was able to walk a group of children to school. Very fulfilling for the deputies and something they enjoy doing, so I wanted to share that.
You guys even brought your helicopter out.
They did bring out, they brought all the toys.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes, it was.
Lovely to be able to do that. And then on October 22nd, also here at Rush Park, the DEA and the OCSD teamed up to have a medication and drug take-back day, and that is where we come together and allow citizens to bring in either expired medication or medication they no longer need, and it's a safe place to dump medication other than flushing it down your toilet and letting it go out to the ocean or putting it somewhere where you're just storing up and someone who gets a hold of it, or someone who shouldn't have it, gets a hold of it and uses it. Our calls for service during the third quarter, and I say calls for service, this is events. The Sheriff's Department logged 993 events for those 3 months, and as a comparison, in 2017, there were 761 events. Although at face this may sound a little disturbing because there was an increase of 232 events, I'm pleased to share that the calls for service, the actual calls for service from citizens in the community was down by 65. And there were an increase of 297 officer-initiated events. And what that shows is that the deputies in the community of Rossmoor are out. They're making contacts with people that may need police contact. They're initiating car stops and bike stops and just doing what they can to keep the community of Rossmoor safe. There is also, if you look at the graph, and I'm sorry I jumped ahead a little bit, Liz, if you can go back. In here, in 2017, for our yearly comparisons, for the entire year, there were 90 Part 1 crimes reported, which at this time, the third quarter last year, we were at 61. The third quarter this year, we are at 51, so we're down 10 Part 1 crimes, which is almost a 16% reduction. And although I hate to take credit for that, I would like to say that's maybe some of the proactive police work that you're seeing and your deputies being out and talking to people and making contacts with people who, you know, may be in the community for nefarious reasons, and they're able to contact them or talk to them before they do some of the vehicle burgs that we seem to have an issue with. Once again, majority of our crimes in Rossmoor are people feeling very safe in the community and leaving their vehicles unlocked, are not doing what they can to protect their property. So I again ask that if you get the opportunity or you think about it, make sure you lock your home, make sure you lock your vehicles. Don't leave your computer bags, purses, or anything in plain sight in your car. And if someone's walking around, and don't make yourself a victim of a crime of opportunity. One thing I can share with you is the 2017 crime stats are out for all the cities in the county of Orange. And Rossmoor, with our 2017 90 crimes, Part 1 crimes, and our population of over 10,000, puts us at less than 9 crimes per 1,000, which would make Rossmoor the 4th safest city in the county of Orange if Rossmoor were in fact a city. So very impressive, and Rossmoor was significantly safer than some of the surrounding cities and some of our border cities. So once again, very nice place to live, and the citizens should be very happy to live here, and the board should be very proud of the job you're doing in keeping your citizens safe. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, in terms of those statistics, that's very impressive. How do we compare on vehicle thefts, which I notice there's a number of those, plus somebody having the tires and rims removed from a vehicle in a driveway without anybody even noticing. That just astounds me. But anyway, the first question about, do you have statistics on auto thefts compared to other communities, or
I didn't look
you
at
break
those.
that down?
I didn't look at those specifically. I looked at overall. I would have to look at the chart and compare those to other cities. And if you give me a moment, I have that right here, and I can actually do that. Motor vehicle thefts were averaging one a month in Rossmoor for most of the reports, and that's actual a stolen vehicle, which would put us about 12 for the year, maybe a couple higher, because a couple months I know earlier on we had a couple of them. And most of these cities, and some of these are significantly larger than the community of Rossmoor, but the safest city, and I won't list that city, in Orange County, had 18 vehicle thefts during the same time period in 2017.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so I think we're trending a little bit lower. It's an unfortunate thing, but people like to steal cars. People in California need transportation, and unfortunately, if they don't have one, there are some people who are more than willing to borrow someone else's.
Yeah, it just seems like the better the security equipment on vehicles becomes,
Yes.
the more sophisticated the thieves become.
That is very
keep
true.
in
And if-
step.
Yes. Yes, sir. And if you see some of the vehicles that are stolen, outside of the 2016 Ford truck that was taken,
Right.
which is an anomaly, it was a 1987 Mercedes and a 2000 Honda, which are some of the older vehicles and don't have some of the newer
I
security
see.
devices
Yeah,
that
I
we
got
see
you.
in
Yeah.
vehicles.
Yeah, that's clear.
Michael, any questions? None. Mark, anything?
Okay, well, I have to ask, if we're at 9 per 1,000, what is the lowest crime rate in Orange County?
I believe it was 7.3.
And so it appeared that they didn't get the truck back, or at least they didn't during this report period,
That
150.
All three of the vehicles were recovered, and without going too much into an ongoing investigation, the truck was recovered very close to the time which it was reported stolen.
Good. 3 for 3. Perfect.
Anything else?
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Jim.
very much. Okay, any board member have an addition to the agenda?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay. All right, I'd like to open up public forum. Any person may address the Board of Directors at this time upon any subject within the jurisdiction of Rossmoor Community Services District. However, any matter that requires action may be referred to staff at the discretion of the board for a report and action at a subsequent board meeting. So, let me see what Is this? This isn't this.
I haven't received any.
Okay. Anybody want to, I didn't get any cards. Anybody want to say anything? Anyone? No? Okay. Then I will close public forum, and I'll move on to Section D, reports to the board. And D1, review of Orange County traffic and public works projects and related safety concerns. Mr.
Thank you,
Mendoza.
President DeMarco and members of the board. This is mainly a receive and file report, and it's more of an informational item. A little background: on Tuesday, October 16th, President DeMarco and staff met with Orange County Public Works traffic engineer Deepti Arbulu, and regarding traffic safety concerns on Montecito Road and some other areas. The following items and suggestions and solutions were discussed. And President Marco, since you were there, if I miss anything or if I misinterpret anything, please join in. But
Yep.
Motorists running stop signs along the roadway. Traffic engineering will evaluate the visibility of existing stop signs and corresponding stops ahead warning signs. If necessary, steps will be taken to enhance the visibility of the signs to entrance driving compliance. Furthermore, on-street parking zones along the roadway will be reevaluated to look for parked cars blocking the visibility of traffic control devices. 2, speeding concerns along the roadway. Traffic engineering will collect necessary data to determine if there is a speeding issue along Montecito Road. If a speeding issue is identified, as discussed in the meeting, the county will look into installing permanent radar feedback signs. If a speeding issue is not determined, then traffic engineering will not recommend the radar feedback signs. However, as we discussed in the meeting, if RCSD opts for them irrespective of traffic engineering's recommendation, RSD will need to go through the county property permits process to install them along the roadway and will be responsible for maintaining them. So basically, this was an issue that we thought it might enhance safety if we had the signage or the radar signs, but we can do whatever we want after they get back to us with their feedback, okay, and their study. Enhance nighttime visibility of neon roadway stripes. Traffic engineering will check with the appropriate division about this issue. Overflow parking from the condominium complex on the residential streets along certain portions of the roadway. Traffic engineering can work with the community to design parking regulations that would deter overflow parking. However, the residents will need to understand that parking regulations will be applicable to everyone, including all residents of Rossmoor community. Permit parking is not an option in an unincorporated area of the county. Okay, next one, street lighting is outdated along the roadway. We know that, and we're in the process of upgrading those, and that'll be a report later on. One of the other issues that was brought forth and is not in this report, I didn't want to add it till I was certain that it was confirmed. The crosswalk located at Tucker and Montecito Road will be removed, and 2 new crosswalks will be installed on Montecito Road at Copa de Oro. The new location of the crosswalk at the stop-controlled intersection will enhance pedestrian safety along Montecito Road. Orange County Traffic Engineer D.P. Abrillo has informed us that proper notice has been given to the public as per the state guidelines. Crosswalk removals need a minimum of 30-day notice to the public to be posted in the location. However, she gave him a 60-day notice, and which exceeds state guidelines. The county has received feedback from the public, and while there have been a few complaints, the majority of the feedback has been positive. Construction is scheduled to commence anytime soon. I mean, it could be this week, could be tomorrow. Subsequent to the crosswalk removal, the county will prepare plans for installation of a new curb ramp and a crosswalk at the intersection of Montecito Road and Copa de Oro Drive. Any questions there?
I have a comment. I have a couple comments. So the origin of this meeting originally was to, and remember, Deep D was the person that we brought out when we had our Bradbury restripe issue, and she came and met with actually Kevin Pierce and I, and she was instrumental on restriping it back to I don't know, probably.
Common sense?
Yes, more of a common sense. So she's been really an advocate for, ever since that time, and probably a little before, she's been an advocate for us, for Rossmoor, and she will reach out to the RCSD to get, certainly in the past, Mr. Ruth's comment, and now hopefully Mr. Mendoza's. So I wanted us all to meet. So that was really the origin of the meeting. And then what happened was we just kind of went over some discussion points, and Deep Deed said, you know what, I'm going to put this into a report and send it to Mr. Mendoza. And I told Mr. Mendoza to, let's just include it as a report. So she's going to be, I've long kind of complained there's not enough light on Montecito. People do run the stop signs. I see them regularly run stop signs. The crosswalk is in the middle of the road. It's not at that stop control. So I believe there has been several complaints about that. That's why county's looking at it. So I had some concerns about moving it just because people jaywalk there, and because it's a problem with the condominiums and
Across that whole
the whole thing.
block,
Exactly.
it's coming
So
and
it's nice to know that they're going to be adding 2 more. They're going to be removing that one, but adding 2 more at stop control sites, stop signs. So, and then,
It's logical.
Are they both at Copa?
no,
Where's the other one at? I
Both
didn't
are on
hear it in
Copa.
oh, here we go.
Both
It's, no, what's the top street,
I
Liz?
think it's Tucker.
So Tucker
is going away.
is going away, and what are the 2 that, Oh, just the two, oh, I see. One's
Oh,
going
it's like an
across.
L.
Yes,
Okay,
okay.
that way. And that takes you to the back side of the Rossmoor Shopping Center.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they have started construction. On my way here, the corner, there was pretty much gone through a demo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's still like a little mini crane thing over there still working.
Yeah, so I also brought up the fact that coming in from St. Cloud, the turn on Montecito, a lot of people exceed the speed limit. I've witnessed that a lot. And, you know, we have kids riding their bikes and everything.
It's a
So,
library right
yeah,
there.
there's a library there, and
Not far.
I just asked, you know, hey, I see, and again, I just drive all over LA and Orange County, and I see these things. Hey, what about a radar, you know, thing that tells you how fast you're going? So that's when Deep D got, all right, well, we'll do a traffic study, and if there is excess speed there, then I can, you know, we can see about getting that. So that's how this conversation went with getting either a radar, you know, you can't do speed bumps, you can't do anything like that. We don't want a signal there, of course. We just want to deter high speeds just coming around that turn, because it's kind of like a blind turn there going into Rossmoor. So
Why can't you do speed bumps?
I'm wondering.
speed bumps, there's a liability. What did Deep D say? The county looks down on speed bumps. What was her reason? I think it causes damage to cars, so there's a liability for speed bumps. She had a reason as to, because I did bring that up.
Yeah.
But
I live like right there, so
Yeah.
I see that all the time, and people take that corner way too fast.
and I bet you would hear them too
Yeah.
if there was speed bumps. You would hear the cars go over them.
Yeah, you probably would. I mean, you can do different levels
Sure.
of speed bumps. You can
Sure.
do, you know,
So we're probably going to get a report from her
Yes.
after this traffic assessment in terms of speed, in terms of, I also complained, you know, to her about, you know, please evaluate the stop signage, visibility, height. I do see other communities having a LED-like flasher to remind people that there's a stop sign there, because I see people running it all the time, all the time. So I'm just trying to, you know, I think we, you know, because of the meeting, I was able to kind of outline a couple of these issues, most of them on Montecito. And she was very helpful in saying, you know what, let me look at each one of these, and we'll get back to you, so.
Did she give a timeline on the speed and when she's going to look into it and get back to us?
No, she didn't.
No, she didn't.
But I've since talked to her, and she's aware, and she was very helpful, and I know she's going to be very cooperative.
like on the neon roadway strips, that was my question. This meeting was a month ago. That seems like a pretty,
Which one?
on the enhanced nighttime visibility with the neon roadway striping. I said striping.
Yeah.
And she said she was going to check with the appropriate division about this issue?
Well, so this is, and you're talking about the paint in the road, yeah. So we talked about this, and this has been another, I've even talked to the people who were laying it out one time, and they're sprinkling in the powder that makes it illuminate, and they're just not putting enough in. So that's what I told her. I go, go to other areas, I go and.
You've been talking about this for a long time
Yes,
on
yes.
our crosswalks at night.
Yes, you just can't.
I think what it is it's something that the county just doesn't do, and I don't think they know how to do it. To be honest, because they came in, they tried, and it's like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the expertise, whereas cities go out and they contract with someone because it's their streets.
It's literally a mixture. It's the proper mixture in the paint that makes the paint illuminate. So
This is something with your background with other cities, Mr. Mendoza, that what is, because in my line of work, when you get into custom molding, you actually can hire color chemists who actually come up with the plastic molding and all that kind of stuff. I think, again, the county hasn't had much need because outside of Rossmoor, they don't have a lot of residential citizens. Most of county pockets are commercial districts, so they don't have that expertise, whereas cities like Cerritos, Seal Beach, name it, they are their roads, and they figured out ways to do it, and someone just needs to communicate with the county.
Yeah.
What is the chemical formula to put this nice reflective stuff that makes it work? And then at least on Montecito, because that is our one highway, and I'm being facetious here.
Go ahead.
You know, my daughter has glitter paint in the backyard.
There you go. Fabric paint. Let's go to Michael's.
Be careful.
It's got to
But it might
illuminate.
be something that you can look into.
It's special magic dust. It's special magic dust.
Not your ordinary.
No,
Because I
don't
know
think
how
so.
many times they tried in Montecito to, like on Bradbury and certain places, to get that reflective, and they struggled, but then you go to another city and you see them doing it right. So
I
I've
go-
never, maybe they need some help.
We'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to find
Yeah,
out how they do
we'll
it.
follow up. It's certainly, we brought it out, it's on a report now. Hopefully, we get the right person to inquire and, don't mess this up, because I remember the last time they painted, you could see stretches where they didn't have any illuminant in it. And it was just a shoddy job. It was,
Again, they didn't know what they were doing.
yeah,
Not trying to be mean, just,
yeah.
I don't think it's
Tell it
something
like it is.
if you haven't done it before, they're taking a guess.
So any more questions on these? Mr. Mendoza, I'm sure you're going to follow up in
Yes, we
terms
will.
of
No, but
timeline. and-
thanks
I
for
have
having
one more
the
item.
meeting.
Yes.
No, that's
On
ex-
this,
On this.
Okay, go ahead.
January. Just another informational item that we didn't cover was, as you know, residents are probably aware that the Orange County Public Works is working on Rossmoor asphalt and concrete
Yes.
remedial repairs.
Yes.
Okay, so on the screen behind me is 3 sections. There's a south, a center, and a north. And the south repairs are being completed right now. They should be done in a couple of days, or they're already done. The center starts now, on the 5th of November, and goes through the 23rd or 28th.
Yep.
And then the other one starts after that and goes through the holidays, probably to July 1st or around that time. I mean, January 1st.
January 1st.
So basically, what they're going to be doing is they're repairing and replacing damaged sections of the concrete, pedestrian access ramps, curbs and gutters, and drive approaches, as well as damaged asphalt sections and sealing cracks. So to make sure everybody understands, they're not re-asphalting everything.
Yeah.
They're replacing sections and
Yep.
they're fixing cracks, but they are doing a great job, and they have notified residents as they're coming.
Yep.
And it looks like a very, well-planned.
and we will be inconvenienced, especially if you live in the area, especially if they're replacing the curb section across the gully concrete, which they've had, where they close the street off for a day. So, but we're going to get improved streets throughout Rossmoor, so I think it's a very positive.
It is. So as far as we know, they're currently on the schedule that they've indicated for getting the job done?
Yes.
In a timely fashion by around the first of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if they're on schedule, that means the south part of Rossmoor is already completed.
That's what it means.
But then again, this was their plan.
Yeah.
Not all plans actually happen, but it'll be, so if anyone lives in that south section, go eyeball it and let us know.
And I believe
will.
when they're done, they're also going to slurry all of the streets.
No.
No? They're not.
That was what I just found out tonight,
Oh.
I think we were all led to believe that it
Yeah.
was fix the infrastructure and then re-slurry, but there is no re-slurry,
Really?
which is disappointing, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
Wow. Is there some way we can ask about the possibility of having that done since it's been so long? You know, Joe?
I'll find out when the next slurry is supposed
Yeah.
to take
Okay,
place. but
because this seems like an
in their
ideal time when
definition of
this is
What
completed.
is supposed to take place, it is not included in that.
Right.
They did a handout that's pretty explanatory.
We should be on, though, a list
It
of...
should be coming soon, because I recall having this discussion before.
Okay. All right. All right, so this is a report to file,
Yes.
okay? And let me go back. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. And our next...
Excuse me.
Oh, yes?
Let me clarify. In a highlighted, I don't know if you have this, Liz, on your, in this page right here, page 12 of 64. I was reading the right-hand side on what they're going to do, but on the left-hand side, it says Orange County Public Works will complete remedial repairs within the Rossmoor area of unincorporated Orange County adjacent to the cities of Los Alamitos and Seal Beach. This work is being completed in anticipation of a
There we go.
slurry
There it
seal
is.
and overlay project scheduled for spring of 2019.
Okay, so
So they're
All we had to do was
Good
read
catch.
it.
Thank you.
way to go, Mr. Mendoza. Way to get him to slurry. Thank you.
I did that pretty quick, didn't I?
Good job.
Okay, so now we're getting it.
That just seems weird that they do all the remedial work a year in advance.
Agreed.
Because you're going to have to go and
I think
do
it's,
it again, but
it's
okay.
contractual
All
stuff.
right.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
not that
Okay.
far off.
Next report, quarterly status report, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President and members of the board. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of the items that have been completed and some items coming up. And these relate to our district goals and objectives. In October through December, I have had meetings with Lieutenant Rich and the county sheriffs, and we have been talking to them periodically about safety and other issues, and we know that they did do a successful drug take-back day at Rush Park in October. The annual toy drive will be held in November and December, and we're continually having ongoing conversation with R.F. Dixon and Lieutenant about the street sweeping issue and the ticketing. Manager James Ruth has totally brought me up to date on the issues, and we're not going to back off. We're going to continue to try to collaborate and make sure that we try to find that spot that we all can live with and make sure our residents understand what we're doing. So we'll be coming back to you with that, okay? The other one is street lighting. As you know, that this is coming up later in the meeting. We are planning to upgrade our street lighting in December and January, and a full report will be following. Financial stability. We can't not have financial stability without volunteers, and Chris Argudo in Recreation is here, and one of the goals we have is to utilize volunteers better and more efficient, and to also keep track of their hours, recognize them, quantify what those hours mean to us in a monetary value, and basically set a volunteer program with a database that we know who we can call and when we can call them. I've met with Neighborhood Watch, and they would be a great resource for us, just because they're active people that are invested in our community. So we're looking for those type of opportunities. That's one of our objectives. The other one is fiscal status. Kathy's here. She can answer any questions if you have any, but the district reserve fund is healthy and has continued to grow with the economy, and our frugal management of operating costs in fiscal year 2017-18, we were able to transfer $176,185 into our reserve funds, which increased the total to $1,009,301. So that's a very big, big progress there over the years, and we'll be getting our 5-year report in December, so you can see the progress. Since there were no new challengers to the board this year, no election was required. Therefore, the district saved another $7,500 in the 2018-2019 budget. The 5-year fiscal plan is currently being updated. We're going to have a budget meeting with our budget committee prior to next board meeting, and we should have that report on our board agenda. Okay. Urban forest. We are a tree city, and I think we all know it. We're proud of it, and we want to build that recognition and that program up, and to educate not only our residents, but mostly our kids. I keep kidding Mary that she's a tree hugger, and that she ought to form a tree hugger club, and bring in.
That's a great idea.
And bring in little tree huggers along with her, educate them. But I'd like to ask Mary to come up and give a report on urban forest.
I like that, tree hugger.
Good evening, and I'll proudly take the title of tree hugger. So for this last quarter, there's a few things that have gone on. As I spoke about at the last meeting, we did implemented the tree walk in both parks, and we've had some good response from that. People have come in the office to ask to have the map printed for them, or they've got it offline. People have asked about it that have just seen the signs in the park that didn't really know about it, but I've, been
Can you
happy to-
explain it just again, very
Yeah,
briefly?
sure.
What did we do?
So what did we put up tree identification signs in Rush and Rossmoor Park. Rossmoor Park has 30 signs, 30 different trees and signs with correlating numbers. And Rush Park has 35 trees. I am probably going to increase that amount a little bit, try to get few more species of trees in to even add to that, so make it even more interesting, and getting some natives in. Mark's a big advocate for native trees, so we're trying those also. So it's going to be a good thing once the word gets out, and hopefully we will be able to educate children on this with Arbor Day events and other events that we can probably have in the future, hope to have, yeah.
They can check out this information now on the website too.
It is on the website, yeah. And then they can, if somebody can't get on the website, we can print it out for them, so.
Like a map and where all the trees are.
Yeah, yeah.
Great school project.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been going on. We do plan to do another Arbor Day this coming year, 2019. I don't have a date yet, but it will be in March, and I'm going to be working with Chris and Mr. Mendoza on setting something up for that. Our last one was our first real Arbor Day. We used to kind of incorporate it with the Rossmoor Festival. So we did one last year with the preschool group, and it was a lot of fun. So we'll probably try to expand that next year. Get some older kids involved and some more of the community members, hopefully. Let's see. We've had good response on the memorial tree program that we offered, and that's if someone wishes to plant a tree for a loved one in one of our parks, they can do that, and that we've had really good response on that. Coming up as far as work in Rossmoor, tree-related work, the grid trim for District 4, which is going to be the south end of Rossmoor, from Bloom to Yellowtail, should be starting in the next couple of months. I don't have a date because our contractor's still trying to figure out their availability, so should be starting probably November, December on that. And I think that's all I have. Then just the regular report that you've received, and if you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer.
I have a question.
Sure.
When you exit Catella and then go towards Rossmoor, on the right side, it's technically Los Alamitos. There's the sign and it says Tree City, USA. That's not for them, that's actually for us, but it makes it look like they're the Tree City.
I've noticed that sign also.
Oh, for years, and it's kind of bothered me. And one time I finally said, well, maybe they are a Tree City, and I looked in, they're not. So obviously
I
that's
assume
our sign.
Okay.
I feel like they're getting credit for it.
Where's it at, Catella?
Yeah,
Okay, think about when you exit the 605, take Catella towards Los Al Boulevard, and that green space along the homes in Rossmoor, there is a sign that says Tree City.
but it's on our side.
It doesn't matter, that right there technically
Is Los Alamitos.
That's Los Alamitos. They have that, that's their
And
property.
it doesn't say Rossmoor Tree
No,
City.
it's
it
just,
just
it's the
says-
Arbor City sign. If there was a way to attach a Rossmoor sign that you then put that sign on with an arrow pointing our way or something.
We need that.
I just know, I think it's just one of those little irksome, they're not a Tree City, we are, and now people are thinking they are, and if anything, it's a bragging right of Rossmoor. And I
Right.
wish there was clarity that it would say Rossmoor Tree City, USA, and I don't know if the Arbor has any special signs or something that we can switch it out for.
I'm sure we can work
If you
on
can look
doing
into that and get back to
Oh,
us,
yeah.
because it is one of our, it's an identifier of our community.
Yeah.
One of the things that people instantly communicate, Rossmoor, trees, and it's something very dear to us, and I want people to know that that's us, because we've earned it.
Yes,
They obviously
definitely.
have it.
Right.
Do we have any more signs like that in or outside of?
In our park, we do.
Okay, so.
Yeah, only, but none like you're talking about where,
Yeah,
when you're
that's on the
entering
outside,
the
though.
city,
Yeah.
or when you're entering the community, it has,
So it's been there for a long time? that sign?
Oh, years.
Yes, yeah, I assumed it was Los Alamitos. I
No,
didn't
if
realize.
you go on to
I think Omero's got,
Tree City USA, they list all the cities of
please,
Los Alamitos.
Omero, can you add to this conversation?
He knows the story.
Yeah, they're not listed here.
I don't recall installing the sign, the Tree City US sign over on by Catella. I remember installing the one here at Rush Park and one at Rossmoor Park, but we didn't install that one. Maybe there is a possibility that they are Tree City.
No, you can look online. They actually have a
Yes,
list
they're
of all
not.
cities
Could be an
by
old sign,
state.
but like I said, it was not installed by us.
Well, I just know that maybe it's something we work with their city. If they thought, hey, Rossmoor's under our sphere of influence. To me, it's just, let's just have clarity that it's Rossmoor that's the Tree City.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll definitely
If we
look into
can.
that.
it's a good point.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of, I don't want more poles or signs in Rossmoor, but if there are other points when people drive into the community where we can attach more of these signs, again, this is part of our identity.
Yeah, entrances and certainly, yeah.
I wouldn't mind putting more, but I don't want to put a new pole.
No, we have
I
enough
want to be
poles
pole
to-
neutral, but if there's a way to an existing pole to attach that sign, I'd be all for it.
Okay, we might be able to attach Rossmoor to that existing sign, or it may be an older, they may have once been a Tree City, you have to apply for it every year.
And maybe they never
might
took
have
it down.
lost their Tree City qualification at some point.
Turn them in.
Ron, any questions?
No, other than I've probably driven by that sign
Yeah.
300-400 times, and I've always taken pride in it relating to Rossmoor. I never thought about Rossmoor not being on the sign itself.
Yeah, you just assume.
It's a good catch.
Yeah,
Mayor, would you please cover the 2 trees in the parking lot?
yes.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot.
There's something,
Oh,
so
we're waiting.
I
I
kind of
wasn't
blindsided her
purposely
and
trying to
followed up.
avoid that. So the two, there's 4 Indian laurel fig trees, as you know, in the Rush Park parking lot, on the edge of the parking lot. 1 is severely in decline, diseased, and has now become hazardous, and I need to have that removed. At the same time, we're going to have removed this tree next to it, so the 2 middle ficus or Indian laurel fig trees will be removed, and we'll replace those. The 2 on the ends will remain for now because they're still in good enough health where they're not a hazard, and where they can still be the dead trimmed off them as they continue to decline. And then at some point, those will probably have to be removed if they continue to decline and they're diseased, really. I mean, the one on the end, the east end is doing the best, and it's nice and full, but I can already see little signs of that one.
Oh, yeah, the big
Die back
branches are
in the-
cracked.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, that's the second
It
one.
was
is really
cracked,
badly
yeah.
cracked,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what would the replacements be for these 2?
We haven't completely decided on that yet.
Oh, good,
There's-
so we
there's some
can
options.
determine what that's going to be.
Yes,
All right.
yes, so.
We have a tree committee, and I would hope that the tree committee brings recommendations to the board, because
That's what they do.
that's actually an important area within our community. It identifies the RCSD. It's also one of our few parks.
Right.
I think that's a bigger project than just trees. I understand why you showed me the cracks. I saw the cracks there. I would never park my car there after seeing what you saw. So what is the timing of actually having both of those trees removed?
Right now, I'm just waiting, our WCA, our contract arborist, their crews are in another city, and I'm actually waiting for them to come in and do those removals and some trimming.
But in the
Sides
next
are-
4 weeks, you think they will be?
Yeah,
done?
definitely, I'm guessing within the month,
Okay.
yes, that they'll have that done, so.
And I remember from the past meetings we've had, we got a special good rate, a special rate on removing, did we,
It wasn't yeah.
it wasn't special? It was just our normal retreat? I thought it was,
They don't charge us a lot
Oh,
to,
yeah,
for
it was a pretty good
removals,
rate for
because
those.
we're under contract with
Okay.
them, and it goes under that, so they didn't really give us a special rate, but the cost they charge us
Is very good.
is very fair, yeah, so.
yes, go ahead.
Question on the chart. The tree health care that you
Yes.
performed in July, what was that?
Yes, so I don't know I'm sure I've talked about this before, the shot hole borer, which is affecting the sycamore trees all over Southern California. I mean, it's really devastating for those trees, and So the treatments that are available, they're not guaranteed to work, but this is what they have. And, it's going with what university scientists are also recommending to do. So I feel like, we have to do something to try to save these trees. So I think it was 25 trees that we treated. And, oh, sorry, it's on here. Let me see.
21 according to the...
21, okay. And I think there was a bigger list, but I thought, well, let's try to do maybe 2/3 of that list and see what kind of outcome because it's expensive, but those trees are high value. So if it works, then we can continue to treat the trees.
How long before we know whether there's results?
Well, in May will be when the female shot-hole borer beetle will be flying around, and then we can kind of judge then whether or not they're going to be, if we can see them in the trees, then we know it's not doing anything because they're still there. And then as far as the disease that they infect the tree with, the Fusarium dieback, that is secondary to the insect, so it's kind of hard to tell. There's the insect, they're in the tree, but they're not killing the tree. It's the disease they're infecting the tree with that's killing the tree. So it's going to be a little hard to judge whether it's working or not, but this is what all we can do right now to kind of gauge it. So
has this treatment worked in other communities that have tried it, or do you know?
Again, it's also new that, with any community, I've talked to different people, other communities say watering the trees more helps, but it's really hard to get water into some of those trees. They have such big extensive root systems that the water's just going to kind of drain off those roots. So
experimentation.
Yeah, so I think this is the best approach that they've know right now.
So everyone's learning together right now.
Yes, everyone, even like I said, even university scientists don't know how to combat this exactly.
Wow.
And this is, they've done a lot of tests on the different treatments and insecticides. This is right now what they know is the best treatment, and it's a trunk injection and a soil injection. There's also a spray for a foliar spray, but because the sycamores are so tall, they don't think that's really going to do much good for our sycamores because we have really tall trees. So doing the foliar spray is going to be difficult. So they're doing the trunk injection and the soil injection. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll save some trees.
I hope so.
Yes.
We hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
No, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mendoza, did we hit the recreation report?
What I think I did, I think I jumped into our next agenda reports. As I'm giving this report, and we'll just continue to do that, we'll knock out recreation and the parks within my objectives.
Let's go.
So the next one is property maintenance, and I'm going to ask Omero Perez to come up and give you an overview of his area, but I'd like to point out that, Kathy and Mary and Chris are back there, and I've just been overwhelmed with how well they do their jobs and how dedicated they are.
Good to hear.
Omero's, as you know, has been here since day one almost and knows this place backwards and forwards. Now, there is a counterbalance here, and I'll be brief. Omero's a spender, and Kathy's a watchdog on that.
Yeah.
So I see that daily. Okay, so, Omero, would you give an update?
Good evening, everybody, again. I'm here to present my quarterly report to the district.
Okay.
Inspection of district properties, Foster Park improvements, a 10 by 16 section of concrete was poured, and also a picnic table was installed with an excavator toy in the sand area to improve the park usage. The district also installed a free little library at Kempton Park. Several people have been already using it. We received already positive feedback from them, from the residents. Also, more than 100 California native plants were planted in the park to replace some of those plants that we're having a hard time keeping alive. Also, All of these plans were picked by our tree expert, Mary. She also helped with the planting, and she's back there. The Rossmoor Way entrance was replenished with new plans to beautify the main entrance for Rossmoor. Rush Park and Rossmoor Park were dethatched, irrigated, fertilized, and reseeded by the landscaping company. This procedure will guarantee us green grass through winter. Maintenance record keeping, all the HVAC units and sewer lines were serviced by the district's prospective contractor at all the facilities. No issues were found. District staff continues watering newly planted trees throughout the district. Exterminator Pest Control Company serviced all the exterior perimeters at all the facilities. All the AEDs are up to date in all the facilities as well. Brightview pressure washed all the tennis and basketball courts and rototill the playgrounds and pits in both parks. Maintenance record keeping, Brightview monthly maintenance report continues being evaluated with the contract conformance and requirements. Water conservation, the district is in compliance with Golden State Water Company. Best practice for the conservation of the resource. Brightview and district staff continue monitoring and adjusting the irrigation controllers to assure proper watering of the turf areas. That's all I got.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just one question.
Sir.
It seems like we were brought into compliance maybe a year and a half ago on watering, and there was a real push due to a lot of shortage of water and lack of rain. And now I haven't heard much about any updates on it in terms of if we're complying, not so much us, anybody in Southern California. So is there any more information that you know of in terms of that subject about, what Golden State is looking at and the rest of the state in terms of our water resources? Or maybe Mr. Mendoza has an update on that.
What I read is that residents or citizens, they still need to be conscious about not wasting any water, like using the nozzle at the end, and to be able to control the water. And that's all I know.
Yeah, because I remember at one time they were really promoting, please be careful on those days.
Yeah.
Only water on the days that you're designated. And I haven't heard anything about that in a long time. And I think as soon as people don't have that in their mind and it's not in front of them, they start going, oh, well, I guess it's really not that necessary any longer. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I can see people slipping because, that's not in the forefront.
No, you're right. Yeah, I've seen people just letting the water run without a nozzle at the end. And it's nice that everybody kind of or other residents to remind them about not to waste any water.
Well, I've noticed certain residents that aren't following the guidelines. I'm not,
Well,
it's just like, that's my observation, and I'm thinking it may be because, they don't think about it any longer.
Yeah, correct. And I'm just like Mary, she's the tree hugger and I'm the water hugger. So I'm always keeping an eye on it. So making sure that all the water leaks and everything's been taken care of. So I'm on it when Brightview doesn't take care of it.
I'm sure we're in compliance, but I'm just, wondering about the rest of our community.
Well, Ron, the water rationing dictation that actually started with Governor Brown and worked its way down has been over with for 2 to 3 years. So there's no longer water restrictions anymore.
Right.
However, there is good stewardship that Governor Brown is recommending. There's recommendations, but in general, we haven't had water rationing for either 2.5 years or so.
I know it's been a while, and I actually, I just think people should be more conscious of it, whether it's actually rationing that you have to do or that you should do.
I agree. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I got one question, Omar.
Sure.
Foster Park, I've driven by it a few times. The light's not on at night.
At night?
At night.
Oh, we got to check it out then.
Yeah, check it out.
When we installed them about a couple of months ago, can't remember the date, but I went there at night specifically just to check on those
Yeah,
lights.
and it was
and
on.
they were on, yeah.
Yeah, so I went by, I think, twice, and it's not on, so if you can, you wanna
Okay,
look at it.
I'll check into
Because I
those.
know it's solar and battery and all that
Yes.
stuff. Maybe it just needs a reset.
Yes, okay. I'll take
Thank
care
you.
of that.
Thank
Okay.
you, Amaro.
Okay,
Who's
moving
next?
on. Moving on with this report, but also encumbering the next reports in it, I'll bring Chris up to talk about recreation programming and overall looking forward to the Winter Festival
Yep.
coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris has some other good news he can share with us. Chris?
How you doing, Chris?
Hello, gentlemen. I just have a couple things I want to highlight from the past quarter. This summer was the 18th summer of offering free movies in parks and park events here at Rush Park. And each year it continues to grow. We've been having great events. This is the third year that we've combined the concerts and movies. We also offer free arts and crafts and bounce houses for kids. We also open up the Snack Shack. Past couple years we've been getting Chick-fil-A, so we've been selling Chick-fil-A out of the Snack Shack. We also offer beverages and all sorts of assorted snacks. We started off the summer with Stone Soul was the band. They're a great band. It was R&B or rhythm and soul and funk and that type of music. And it was followed by the movie Despicable Me. Then we had the most popular one usually is the Elm Street Band that brings a large crowd every year. They have a big following. And then that was followed by the movie Coco, which was a great movie. So that was probably the most popular event we had this summer. And we ended the summer with The Emperors. And we also had Cars 3 was the last movie that we showed. On average, the attendance is about 1,200 for these events. Like I said, the Elm Street Band brought a little bit more. We probably had about like 1,500 for that one.
Excellent.
We also had another year with Shakespeare in the Park. That's a Saturday, Sunday event. The Saturday showing was The Winter's Tale. And Sunday we had The Merry Wives of Windsor. This year, the average attendance for that was about 450, combined average for that. And every year we have the Orange County Sheriff's Department. We have the reserves come out to all of our events. We have at least 2, maybe more sometimes, so depending on what type of event it is. We also had the conclusion of the Youth Center's summer day camp, and that's at Rossmoor Park. And every year they have over 400 kids going through that camp every year. And on average per day is about 100 kids. They have about 100 kids for the summer camp. And once that concludes, the Rascals After School program, which is also the youth centers, that's the following week. So one week the summer camp closes, the next week the after school program opens up. And it's Rascals, it's called Rascals, and it stands for Rossmoor After School Club and Academic Learning Services. And that's over there at Rossmoor Park in the community room. And this program is for grades K through 12, and they have a maximum of 25 kids. And what they have over there going on is the youth staff brings the kids over from the schools, they walk them over, they help them with their homework. They have, after homework, they have to read for about 30 minutes. All the kids put everything away. They read about 30 minutes, and then after that, they have some fun games and activities for the kids. The last thing I have is the co-sponsorship of the 4th annual 4th of July Fireworks Spectacular, and that's at the Joint Forces Training Base. We've been doing that for quite a long time. We have a booth there with just informative stuff of our summer events and other programs that we offer. And I just want to mention the toy drive that we have. It's a 6th annual, or 6th year that we're doing it. We're collaborating with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and it's called Operation Santa Claus and also Senior Santa. And we're collecting new and unused toys and clothing here at the Rush Park office, and we're collecting it until December 14th. You could also bring it on December 14th to our 4th annual Rossmoor Winter Festival, and that is also here at Rush Park in the parking lot. And once again, we're bringing snow, we're bringing Santa, we got trolleys, we got arts and crafts, vendors, food trucks. We also have local school choirs and other entertainment. And we also have a petting zoo and a pony ride this year.
Reindeer?
No reindeer this
No
year.
reindeer?
Uh-oh.
Costs a little bit too much.
Okay.
Well, based on last year, I wasn't sure about the petting zoo.
Yeah.
But the petting zoo came off so well.
Right, there's a long
That
line.
I would actually forego the reindeer. They actually look sick and sad. No,
Right,
seriously, they
that's-
did.
Some people like them, some people
And
didn't.
I looked at that going, they're so sad, but yet the goats and the petting zoo was so much fun.
The petting zoo.
And if
Yeah.
you look at the expense, I think you should expand that because that line was huge.
Yeah.
And that was a lot more fun than seeing these sad, depressed reindeer.
also have
No,
the
seriously, it
option-
was. If you were there,
Always
my wife
sad.
actually said, why are you doing, look at that, it looks like you're being mean to them. But one thing I want to encourage is we actually have a new assemblyman, and I'll talk to both of you about that. Can we personally invite Assemblyman Deep to our event? We always invite Senator Nguyen, but I would love to see him as our new assemblyman and get to know him and have him come to this gala event.
Okay, sounds great.
So let's make a personal invite to him. I'd
Sure.
appreciate that.
I think he'll come if you invite him, based on what
I hope he does.
based on what I know.
I think as an agency,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's a great idea.
we need to have a better relationship with our local officials.
Yep.
What's the last day for the toy drive? The 14th?
Yeah, we're making it the 14th, the last day, and it's also the day of the festival. So you could bring them to the festival. We'll have a booth set
Okay,
up with
that's
the
right.
sheriff's department
That's
there.
for the toy drive. Okay. All right, thanks, Chris.
No problem.
Anything
Well
else,
done.
Mark? No?
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Perfect.
One more item, Goal 6, communication. I just want to brag on Liz a little here, since she's doing our minutes, I'll give the report. We already sent out the October newsletter, as you know, and the upcoming edition is January. If anybody has any items, please let her know. So the publication covered several timely and popular topics, featuring General Manager Jim Roosevelt retirement, and that was last month, and thank you for honoring him as well as you did. He's a mentor and a friend now, and we're just starting to really get close, and he's been really helpful. The guy's unbelievable. And Rossmoor Community Festival, of course, is going to be in the newsletter, or was in the newsletter. The launch of the new district tree walk, online video, that facility tours that Liz is very proud of. Yeah. And community programs, articles addressed summer school skills, camps, Rossmoor holiday home tour, which is coming up. If you haven't bought a ticket, you can get one of your local stores, or at, I know Green Street has them. That's where I'm going to buy mine. Little Cottonwood Shoe Drive, annual toy drive giveaway, and more. Newsletter continues to receive positive feedback. I just want to thank Liz for continuing to do that and add it to our website. Thank you, Liz.
Great job, Liz.
That concludes my report.
Okay. All right, thank you for that, Mr. Mendoza. We're going to move on to Section E, consent calendar. Consent items are expected and to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the board at one time. If any board member requests that any item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed by the president, so it can be acted on separately. Was everyone here for these three items?
No.
Okay,
You'll have to remove item number 1.
okay. And then September revenue expenditure report. What's that?
The other two are reports, so.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I will remove 1A. I need a motion then to approve 2 and 3.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, and then I need a motion to separately approve the minutes from last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 And we have one abstention.
And I'll be
Yeah,
abstained.
one, whatever.
Okay.
I abstain on it. I wasn't here.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to Section F, public hearing, there are none. Resolutions, none. Ordinances, none. And we move to H1, potential amendment and/or upgrade to Southern California Edison Lighting Agreement. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Marco, members of the board. This has been an ongoing process. You have been updated periodically on lighting issues in Southern California Edison's project and their program to illuminate our streets with LED lights. We are scheduled for December 8, 2018 and January 2019 for upgrades. However, at this time, it's a crucial point in the project for the board to take consideration on upgrading certain lights in certain areas in order to provide better illumination and safer streets. So before you tonight is a recommendation that we threw together just as a starting point for you to start the discussion and to give us input and give us feedback on what streets you would like illuminated to a higher level. The Edison Company provides for a 4,000 K, I think 70 watt. That's the base. That's what we're going to get in our agreement, and that's a residential equivalent to what we have now, except it's LED and it's going to be better illumination. What we're asking you is there any other streets that, like Montecito or some of the main arterials, that we want to illuminate more? And I know that Board Member Maynard had mentioned schools. President DeMarco mentioned some other streets, and I think each one of us have an opinion. Before we go back to Edison and amend the agreement or ask them to upgrade those streets, I just want to make sure this is a one-stop shop that we need to make a good decision on and go forward to make sure we're correct in what we're doing.
Since you mentioned my name, I would at least like to put out my point of view, or do you want me to wait until you're finished, Mr. Mendoza?
Yeah, let me just give one more point here.
All right.
You did sign the agreement on June 12, 2018, after meeting with Mr. King from Edison, and so you're up to date on what the Ks are and what the watts are and those type of things. I did, as you know, reached out to the city that I'm most familiar with, the Cerritos, where I came from years ago, and I know that they had done, I was aware that they had done a pretty extensive research by completing a survey of their residents and providing a few demonstration streets for residents to view and comment on a variety of LED lighting selections. After receiving input, Cerritos City Council voted to utilize the 4,000 K 100 watt equivalent LED lights from the standard 70 watts. The Cerritos project is pretty much in line with us. They're going to start November 26, 2018. But that was a survey completed and that the residents gave input, and I believe they're a good qualifier because they are also a tree city. And they have the same issues we have with shadows and things like that. So they stepped it up a notch to that next level. And I believe a couple of, I don't know if all the board members were able to drive those streets that they had demonstration on, and I did, and I liked what I saw as far as their selection. And then O'Mero went out and drove the streets as well as I think President DeMarco did. And that's where we came up with just a starting point for the board to consider the recommended enhancements. And that's your last page, and I think, Liz, can you put that up? It's up, okay. So this is just a starting point, and if you want to just walk through this and add or delete, I would recommend we do that tonight and make a decision on how to approach Edison on our upgrades.
Liz, that page, what page number is that?
The colored
It's attachment 4. I don't know if it has
Page
a...
64 of 64.
All
It's the
right,
last.
hang on one second. 64. Okay, yes. So why don't we do it like this then? Let's, so what you have right now, Mr. Mendoza, on page...
Oh, there it is.
70, it's actually, yeah, our last page. Let's just go over this. So Rush Park, which is the green, it's 4 on Mainway, 2 on, and this is deviating from the standard 70 watt 400K light to upgrade it to the 4,000K 100 watt. These are upgraded lights.
Correct.
And there's four on, here's the number on each street that you're recommending to update.
Correct.
12 total for Rush Park. You have 13 total for Rossmoor Park. And then for the schools, Hopkinson 0, Lee 0, Rossmoor Elementary 7, Weaver Elementary 3, And then for Foster Copa de Oro 1, do you know what that that's at that intersection?
That's a new crosswalk.
Yeah. And then Bradbury Road 0, Rossmoor Way 0, Montecito Road 12, which is our main thoroughfare 4-lane, and then entrances, Wallingsford 3, Hedwig Road 2, and I think that's it. So I want to start off with certainly Michael and then me. So because Michael and I were in the meeting, let's start off with Michael and I's, because I want to hear what you two gentlemen think also about, again, updating or upgrading these lights. But go ahead, Michael, go with your thoughts, and then I'm going to weigh in, and then I'll let the other directors weigh in.
Well, first of all, thanks for the package that I was on a business trip all last week, and I came home with the package. So last night, my daughter and I went to Cerritos and went to the demonstration area. And she and I actually were in agreement. I was trying not to push her one way. I purposely kept the page in the packet that said how the citizens of Cerritos voted. I did not want to know. I just wanted to go for myself objectively.
Sure.
Commentary number 1 from a 16-year-old girl. The lighting in Rossmoor stinks after seeing those lights. So she said any one of them is going to be a huge improvement. Number 2, we both agreed that the 4,000 Kelvin color temperature seemed better than the others. Wasn't overly glaring, but just had a better aesthetic and then had a better coverage of the light. And we definitely, like for the residential, meaning the areas where it purely as a sleeping community, the 70 was adequate and would be safe. But the 100 watts for our main streets was kind of the thought that she and I both agreed. We came back, and ironically, we voted the same as the majority of the citizens of Cerritos. And then also in the packet, he mentions other cities. My hometown, Claremont, California, they're also doing the 4,000. If you actually see them, it seems 4,000 as a lighting temperature. And I can tell you after looking at that, the 4,000 is probably what we've already have installed on Montecito. It seems to be the same color temperature of what you see in Seal Beach surrounding us, and also Seal Beach shops at Rossmoor. So the theory that I have is complete agreement around our parks where people might park, especially in the evening. We have Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops going back and forth crossing a street. So I think from a safety standpoint, upgrading the 100 watts to any parks or any of our schools. Again, you have PTA meetings that happen sometimes at nights. You have Boy Scout troops that meet at some of the schools. So I think in general, I would like to have a policy that seems fair to everybody, because if all of a sudden you put some in some schools and not in some schools, it seems like people are going to say, well, why this one, why that? And we'll have to explain ourselves, compared to having a policy that 100 watts when you're near schools and parks, because of the probability of people crossing the street and safety, it seems like a prudent call. Now, also looking at the recommendation, it says on Bradbury Way Road not to have the 100 watts. That's also where those condos are. And you have the same problem, because if you remember, a good friend of mine, former director of this board, Alfred Coletta, he lives on one of those. I've been to his house, and you see people still crossing that street. And so from a public safety, I would like that to actually match what we're doing on Montecito. So in general, I think most of this is very well thought out work. I just like the consistency of schools, parks, and that arterial that leads to Montecito, all matching with the 100 watt and the 4,000 Kelvin color temperature. And then, again, I also think that especially in the school zone along Foster, which again is also, it's not really an arterial, but for Little Rossmoor it kind of is. I think along the schools, again, on what's the street again? Foster. Definitely needs consideration there too. And even in the beginning part where it becomes Hedwig, my recommendation would still be doing the upgrade to the heavier wattage, because people are turning into that from the bright street lights of Seal Beach Boulevard, or I think technically that's Los Al, over by that Arco. I think leading up to that park should also be
So and I just want to point to, on Rossmoor Park, where it said 5 on Foster, you're recommending to just have that same layout in front of, the lights in front of Lee and Weaver, which are also have one side on Foster, to also upgrade
The two schools that are
two
on
schools on Foster, just like
Yes.
we're doing on Rossmoor Park.
Right, but also to continue it on St. Hedwig's after the park. You know how,
St. Hedwig's after the park, okay.
and also on Wallingsford. Those are entryways where you're turning in from a street that already has a certain brightness. So those entryways into Rossmoor, 100 watts. And if you look a few pages in advance, a lot of cities are going 150, which I think for our little bedroom community is a little overkill. But wiping it up, increasing it to the same that we're doing on Montecito, I think, again, is, from a safety standpoint, I think it's prudent to do that.
So you say in addition to the 3 that are already listed for Wallingsford and the 2 that are
Where
listed
is
for
it?
Hedwig?
Where is
At the
Wallingsford?
bottom of page 64.
Oh, okay, never mind, they're already there, that's cool.
Okay, I kind of thought they
Disregard-
were the
sorry.
same ones, I just wanted to verify.
Okay, so I guess the only thing that, the Bradbury, I understand Rossmoor Way because that, you're going directly into, there's nothing really
No,
there.
but and Rossmoor Way has double lights in the center. They
Right.
literally have double.
And I think 70 is fine for that.
I would think so too.
So, but you want them at Hopkinson and Lee in addition to Rossmoor and Weaver?
I want all schools to have that added measure of safety.
Yeah, sounds right.
Okay, so, you done?
I'm done.
Okay, so,
My 2 cents times 2.
yep, and I appreciate you going down there and looking at them. I also looked at them in La Palma and Cerritos, and certainly, we're not light experts here, but I'm in agreement with Michael. My only hesitation is we have street lights that face the park, and I believe we have street lights that face residential. And when I went and viewed La Palma, which has their residential streets at 70 watt, 4,000 K, and then they have their main 4-way at 100 watt, 4,000 K. The 100 watt does go across the 4-lane highway. I mean, the width of the street. So my only, because, and again, I don't know if it's enough. It's only a 30 watt increase. I don't know if it's enough, but it's just something I want to bring to this board, that when I drove the schools and seeing what the LEDs do to Montecito, I felt, and I've done it twice, that just having LEDs around the schools is going to increase them dramatically in terms of visibility. And certainly Hopkinson on 2 corners has a light right at the corner, whereas Lee and Weaver do not. So that was my initial kind of, I'm kind of worried, is it going to shine too much? Because it's only a 2-lane little residential street. Is 100 watts going to shine too much? I'm thinking that these lights can be dimmed if that was the case. You don't really know until you put them in. The difference between Cerritos, La Palma, is we have these giant trees too that block the lights. So perhaps 100 watt is going to be better than a 70 watt in many, many cases with our lights. They're just next to a huge tree. I know in Bostonian there's not enough lights facing Rossmoor School, because one of the reasons is there's a giant tree next to the light. So I'm gonna agree, Michael, that my only hesitation is I don't want it to be too bright going into especially facing the residential, like around the parks, the ones that are actually on the park sidewalk shooting this way, shooting towards the resident. That's my only my hesitation. Certainly, let's light them up and have it.
But if we can dim, if we can make adjustments, and if I recall when you and I met with Mr. King, it's the same fixture. On this one here, it literally is the element that you put in that creates it. So it's not like the 70 watt and the 100, it's a different complete fixture. Those fixtures fit both size wattage of LEDs. Worst case scenario, if we're
Is we just
wrong,
adjust, is we just
Change
trade it
them.
out with this one over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And we
then-
do have that flexibility. They said like within the first 90 days, even if a homeowner doesn't like it, they'll come out and they'll make adjustments and
That's
work
true.
with it. So if
That's
it-
true.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, it's not like, oh, we just lost out
Yeah.
a $350 fixture. No, all the fixtures are being changed at
Yeah.
the same time. It's just now which bulb do you
Yeah.
put in there?
And then the other thing that I want to bring to everyone's attention, just so you understand and know, is there is going to be a slight change in, by upgrading, I don't know, what's the total number, 57?
53.
Right now,
If
we
we
have
go with
53.
53, if
There's
we,
a total of 796 lights, and we've picked, in this
in this one, 53, that's probably, let's just say 60. There's probably going to be another 7 on Bradbury, or let's just say 5, and then, or I forget how many on Bradbury. There might not be 5, there might be 4, and then the 2 Fosters, so it might be anywhere from 58 to 64.
We did the math that at this program here was just 6.6% of the lights are
Correct.
getting upgraded.
Correct.
You add 4 to 5 more, it's going to go up to like 7.
It's negligible.
It's 7 to 8%.
Yeah.
And, but what I was going to point out is the numbers that we were given. Remember, earlier this year.
For an energy savings?
For an energy savings. I just want to bring it, it's a very negligible. I mean,
It
it's
is
55
They
cents a
mentioned
month.
it in the report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And the
that's,
smaller the wattage, the less
I think
savings.
that's anybody's.
yep. But that's all I have to say. I like the 4,000K, and certainly around the schools, the parks, if they're dimmable, the 90-day, I forgot about that, you're right. It's the 90-day.
They come and they make adjustments, yeah.
And I'm good with it, so.
I had a couple.
Go ahead.
First, I had a question. Mr. Mendoza, you didn't recommend any brighter lights at Hopkinson and Lee, and Director Maynard is suggesting them. I'd like to know your rationale as to why.
Well, I think this is his recommendation.
Yes, this is your recommendation for 0, and I'm asking.
No.
0. 0 at Hopkinson and Lee.
Oh, I see
7
what
at
you're,
Rossmoor,
I'm sorry, Mark, I'm sorry.
And I wanted to know I'm leaning towards what Director,
Maynard.
yes, thank you.
That's him.
Maynard said.
Nice to meet you, Mark.
But I want to know why you had a different recommendation.
There was some of these numbers, well, I know Hopkinson and Lee, these were my suggestions, the orange. And Bradbury and Rossmoor were my suggestions to Mr. Mendoza. So that's
And
so.
your suggestions were based on what?
Well, just driving it and feeling when I drove that 70 watt would be adequate at the time I drove. I think in weighing this and discussing it and vetting it, and I think the policy of not doing one school and doing one school is probably not a good policy. We should just upgrade around every school. So it's like I'm changing my recommendation now that I'm hearing having some discussion. Let's just improve around all the schools and all the parks.
Well, I guess my one concern, because I used to go by Hopkinson all the time, haven't been there in a while. I don't know which way the lights are facing there, and whether there was a concern that at Hopkinson that they're more facing their residences than at Lee, for example, or Weaver, and that was part of the reason for the recommendation. I am concerned. I really like the way Cerritos did this, that they took the time, they did demonstration, they asked their citizens. I'm not going to relitigate, but we are rushing into this, and we're going to have some citizen complaints. As you say, as long as it's during the first 90 days, we can make adjustments.
Yep.
And if you can literally dim it down, then there's no reason not to get the 100 and dim it. If you can dim it down to 70, effectively 70, then you're better off getting the 100, spending a little bit more, and dimming it down to the extent the neighbors complain. And you can also focus it on the LEDs, which is a positive.
Mm-hmm.
But So I'm leaning towards your recommendation on that. I just was trying to make sure that there wasn't some reason to distinguish the school locations. So
I can give you my reason. Hopkinson has lights. They're better placed than Weaver and Lee, in my opinion. Hopkinson, they teeter back and forth. Rossmoor Elementary has no lights on the school island. Zero. They're all on Montecito, Bostonian, and it's facing that way.
Yeah.
So they're all a little bit different. So my initial driving it, Weaver on Bostonian is dark. The south side of Weaver is very, very dark.
Okay.
And it's because there's no light on Weaver's side. It's all on Rossmoor's side. As you go around Weaver, it's different. Whoever put the lights in 1958, it was a little strange. You would never put them in this way in today's standard. So Hopkinson, to me, is the best lit right now school we have, in my opinion. Just by driving around the school.
It's the best elementary we have, too. That's where my kids are. Huskies.
on that, I completely agree with you.
Lee is pretty good as
No,
well.
I'm a Weaver guy.
Huskies.
So.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so
Anyway,
okay,
and
I just
and Mr. Mendoza, I remember the dimmability of these lights, but let's confirm.
I'll verify that.
Okay.
You also realize that this is a win-win. If we put them in and they're at the higher level and we have a situation,
Yes.
we can always pay for a change
Correct.
order. It isn't going to be that expensive if we need to do.
And I should add to reading the report, Cerritos spent $7,000 putting these lights in and doing all this stuff. I mean, Cerritos is a big, huge city. They can afford.
They're much bigger.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's kind
Taxable
of.
revenue, all that.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway,
no
Car
kidding.
dealerships.
So my real concern here, though, is the color temperature.
Okay.
I looked at what we got in our staff report was just a 2-page press release from the AMA. That concerned me, let me finish. That concerned me enough that I went back to the AMA's original report. This is the executive summary, the report of the Council on Science and Public Health. And I am very concerned about the 4,000 K temperature based on the AMA's recommendations. I would note, by the way, according to Cerritos, the current sodium vapor lights we have are closer to the 3,000 K, and according to the AMA, they're closer to 2,100. So we'd be making a big jump up there. And they talk about the adverse effects, like by a factor of 5, that the 4,000 K lights have on sleep patterns of both humans and animals, and particularly nocturnal animals, that they would disrupt their sleep patterns, cause upset and irritability. That's not something you can do in a survey. I mean, Cerritos asked people, what do you think of the light?
Yeah.
But that's the same as, what do you think, after you've had trouble sleeping because the light is coming through your window, and you don't even know why necessarily you have trouble sleeping. I certainly don't want to do anything to interfere with the sleep patterns of the coyotes if it results in their coming out more at night because
They're awake now or something?
they're awake, which is one of the dangers specifically they talk about in there, is that it upsets the sleep patterns of nocturnal animals. And, I mean, any of you are free to read this report. They also mention the disability glare from the U.S. Department of Transportation, and say they've done studies and that the glare on a 4,000 K is much more likely to cause accidents than the 3,000 K, because for some reason, there's more glare associated with that color of light. So based on that, I completely agree with Director Maynard's recommendations, except that I would make them all 3,000 instead of 4,000, except maybe on Montecito. But then I feel like I'm kind of sacrificing the homes, the people who live on Montecito. And
You probably would be.
So my preference would be 3,000 across the board on on all of them, and anybody who wants to see the AMA report.
Did you go out to Cerritos and check out the difference?
Not unfortunately. Fortunately, I was at my daughter's wedding this weekend.
Okay.
I was not able to go. So I was gone Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then Monday I had work to catch up on. So I did not go out there, but as I say, I'm very concerned about the AMA report, and I'm inclined to take their recommendation on this. It doesn't mean I take my doctor's recommendation on everything, but on this one.
Yeah.
But on this you do. Yeah.
It's just, on that point, and then I'll turn it over to you, Ron. On that point, not that we need to, this influences our opinion, but it's the conclusion of other cities as to what they choose is overwhelmingly 4,000.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't agree.
You don't?
No. I mean, that is a selection of cities there. Some are 3,000, some are 4,000. What has happened, at least according to the AMA report, is that the older standard was 4,000, and the ones who rushed to install it all did 4,000, but that many cities are turning to 3,000. City of Los Angeles, according to the records that I have, is 3,000. This says it's 4,000, so there's some disagreement on that point. Fullerton, Huntington Beach, Anaheim are all 3,000 in there.
Michael, the 3,000, it was noticeable to you?
There was a difference. If we went 3,000, it's still a dramatic improvement of what we have.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Except for Montecito, where we already have the 4,000. Seal Beach already has the 4,000. So if anything, I think there could be an issue of going from 4,000 to 3,000, going from one standard to another. On this one here, whatever we do, it is a huge improvement for the community.
No
I
question.
agree, without a doubt.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if Mr. Ruth kept track, or maybe Liz or someone else has. Have we gotten a lot of complaints on Montecito based on the new lights that we've put in?
None that I'm aware of.
Nobody in the apartments across the street or anywhere complaining that they're not sleeping, so no complaints?
Not that I'm aware of.
So we already have a block that's have the 4,000
Yeah,
Kelvin since,
and they're good
what,
with
the
it.
last 8 months, 9 months? How long has it been?
Oh, more than that, over a year.
Yeah.
I just know that I live only 8 houses from Montecito, and I have a lot of neighbors going, well, when are we getting those cool new lights? That's all I've heard.
And Mark, to your point, that it could be something not realized for years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, like I said, I'm not a light expert. It
To be
seems,
honest, when my daughter and I went last night, because I really want to see it, our decision, it wasn't like it was unanimous in that we both agreed that it seemed more aesthetically pleasing and seemed to cover more.
yes.
Is kind of where we were going. But it's not like the 3,000 didn't cover and we'd be in darkness. So,
Ron, any,
Yeah, I have a few things. First of all, I went over to what I think was the demonstration area. I went over this afternoon, just after dark, about 5:15. Very heavy traffic, and so there were a lot of cars around. So I pulled in back of a Target store and walked across a channel to an area where I saw lighting on 2 baseball fields and a soccer field, I believe. First of all, my question is, was that the demonstration area? That's not. What was I looking at?
You were looking at the park that they had upgraded, and you might have missed some of the upgrades along the walkways. The demonstration area was in a residential area off Bloomfield and Artesia Boulevard.
Oh, it was Artesia, because I went to Bloomfield and Telamo.
yeah,
So that I wasn't in the right place at all. So my trip was, well, what I was looking at before I move on these parks, I mean, the lighting was phenomenal. I assume that was LED lighting on those parks, do you know?
yes, the park there is all LED.
And
That's the Don Kanabe Park? Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's,
I have no idea what it was called, but that's where it was located.
the part he was at is the City of Cerritos Sports Complex section.
That's where I was.
Hobby
It's just a
Park.
huge area in there
Right.
that I saw. So based on my looking at that, not realizing if I was looking at 3,000 K, 4,000, 100 watts, 70 watts, all I know that lighting compared to what we have in Rossmoor, it's like night and day, the difference. After I looked at that, the lighting on our streets just looked old and dingy. So in terms of the 70 watt, for most of our community, I think that's perfect on our residential streets. And in terms of what all the other gentlemen have said, in terms of upgrading like Montecito around the schools, Weaver, Rossmoor with the additional lights, that sounds perfect. The entryway on Bradbury for additional lighting there, I agree with Michael on that should be done. And I actually live very close to Weaver Elementary, and they were discussing lighting on Foster for Weaver on that intersection, because I think the lighting that you included here, the three have no bearing on Foster. I don't think any lights are upgraded there. Is that true?
That's correct.
So I think that if it doesn't interfere with the residents across the street on Foster, and we can adjust them, so I would say that we should have some there. And the lighting at Lee, I think it's phenomenal lighting, but if we can do an upgrade that doesn't interfere with the residents across the street on Foster, and I don't know if you're talking about maybe upgrading on the other sides that would face over on, I guess it would be like Wembley on one side maybe, and over to Shakespeare. I think that school goes over to Shakespeare, if I'm not.
It does.
And so I don't know about the lighting over there, if you've included that, but I think if that doesn't interfere with homeowners for safety reasons, that area should be included as well. But I think the number was referred to as increasing from like 6% based on the 53 up to maybe 7 or 8% if we add these other areas that I think would be benefited substantially, that we should definitely consider that. And in terms of 4,000 being an issue for sleeping, I don't know how we address that. I mean, I know Mark brought it up, and if people's sleeping habits are impacted by that, that's a concern, but I'm not sure how we address that. So I'm just throwing that out there as something that, we have to weigh in on this.
So just from the report that Mark just handed me, so it says, because of the difference coatings, the energy efficient of 3,000 K lighting is only 3% less of 4,000, but the light is more pleasing. So it's not that different, but it's lower to the color that is there. Again,
Or yellow like the sun, a little less blue.
But again, in Cerritos, you can notice it. You definitely notice it.
Yeah.
The question is and from this report, it's saying that the 3,000 option is a newer option. That originally it started, years ago, where they would jump straight to the blue 4,000 K, and like Mark was saying, that's what they started installing earlier, and they still do. Probably just because it's a white light, and it just looks better. But again, I don't.
The three of the four early adopters on there are 4,000. So.
Is there they're dated in here?
Yeah, no, so it's a mixture. There's, Huntington Beach chose 3,000 in 2017.
Yep.
And I think Downey chose 4,000 in 2017.
Oh, yeah, they did. You're right.
Try with a motion and see where it gets.
Well,
Huh?
Well, the one thing I can tell you is my
Okay.
parents still live in Claremont,
Okay.
and they're sleeping fine.
No comment. And they have 4,000 K, yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And some people will be affected, some people
Yeah.
won't.
And just so you know, I mean, I have a pole that's right outside my house, so.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, our street is very dark, and I would like it to be lighter, but part of it, as you say, is because of the trees. Well, I'm going to make I'm going to move to adopt the staff, so the staff recommendation, basically, so this list, except with Director Maynard's additions for Hopkinson, Lee, and Bradbury, however many that is, roughly 60. But that all of the, so everything would be 70s except for those. And everything would be 3,000 except for Montecito. That's my motion.
So, since you said that, it doesn't bother you that Bradbury that you turn to get to Montecito with the apartments and people crossing there, that wouldn't be the same as Montecito? That one little stretch?
You know, there aren't many homes that face Bradbury. If that's the difference in the motion, I don't have a problem with that.
Very few.
I mean, I don't know how many people go on Bradbury versus St. Cloud. I don't have a...
There's a lot of people.
Yeah. That's fine. And if...
Because to me, just
we have
theoretical,
complaints,
Bradbury
we'll
and
deal with it.
Montecito to me are kind of the same.
Okay. But
As
Montecito
major-
keeps going. And what about Foster?
Well, again,
I don't think, Foster's again a two-lane road.
yeah.
That's
with
not
a-
as congested.
With a lot of interior streets running into it, I think it's going to look funny. So when you say Montecito, are you saying starting from St. Cloud, turning into Montecito?
Yes.
Okay, and going off the whole loop?
Bradbury.
All the
and
way to
then
Bradbury.
Well, no, Bradbury runs into Montecito, so
Yes.
Then you take it all the way to Orangewood, is it? When does it change its name?
Orangewood?
It is Orangewood? Okay.
Yeah, changes it orange.
Yes, that's what
Okay.
my motion is.
That whole stretch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bradbury.
And then everything else would be 3,000. That would be my motion.
I like that. I'll second.
All right, so let me,
Yes.
Can you clarify your motion? So everything is
I'm not sure about that.
3,070 except
Correct.
the Montecito and Bradbury, and they're 4,100?
Okay, so let me clarify. 3,070 everywhere except the identified streets shown on this chart, including Bradbury and Lee Elementary and Hopkinson Elementary. Those would all be 100. So the 60 or so lights would be 100, but they would only be 4,000 on Montecito. So they'd be 4,100 on Montecito, 3,100 on these others, 60s, and then 3,070 everywhere else. That's my motion.
That's
And
my
you're-
understanding.
And you're not concerned about Wallingsford when you turn off of Catella into Wallingsford? As an arterial?
I am concerned about it. I'm concerned, I think this is a balancing of concerns. I am concerned, but as you said, we are making, this will already be literally night and day.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned that adding 4,000 outweighs the potential negatives.
and certainly, and you're saying the 3,070 or the 3,100 will be such an improvement that between the 3 and 4,000 is going to be almost negligible in terms of the improvement in the light spread.
Correct. I mean, the 4,000 is no brighter than the 3,000. It may appear brighter.
It appears different. It is.
It also appears, at least according to the U.S. Transportation Department, it appears glarier too, but it does appear brighter because bright
Blue spectrum.
white, yeah, it looks a little brighter, but it isn't any brighter.
And I think Wallingsford is already pretty well lighted, even as it is. There's just a lot going on there. The apartments, the church, and
Yeah, you got the...
anytime I drive through there, it seems like there's no visibility problems at night.
Parking lot is pretty well lighted there.
It is. Yes.
Okay, so let me get this motion straight.
Okay.
And Liz, tell me if this is what you have.
Okay.
So excluding Orangewood, Montecito, St. Cloud, that half loop, and excluding Bradbury. So excluding those 4 streets, I'll get back to them. Throughout Rossmoor, it's going to be 3,000 K and 70 watt, except for what we've identified in the report and adding Michael Maynard's suggestions, all of these increases. So there's going to be 53 plus the poles on Foster, adjacent to Lee, plus the poles on Foster, adjacent to Weaver, and then all of the poles suggested in here on this report, which are 53 of them, those are going to be 100 watt. 3,000 K, 100 watt. Now, the 4 streets that I excluded, those are going to be 4,000, 100 watt, right?
Right.
Those 4 streets are,
Those 4 streets, 4,000 K, 100 watt.
that's Montecito,
Yeah.
Rossmoor Way, Bradbury, and Foster and Copedale.
Not Rossmoor Way.
No, not Rossmoor, no Rossmoor Way.
What 4 streets?
Rossmoor Way,
St. Cloud, Montecito, Bradbury, Orangewood.
correct. The loop.
That's it, the loop.
Okay.
Okay, so
And then the exception of wattage, forget light. The wattage is schools and parks get 100 watts.
Right,
correct, and all those are going to get 3,000 K, 100 watt.
right.
And the only change to this, these numbers are the Foster poles. Yes, Director Maynard,
Well, and also the Bradbury, which we've already.
which we've already done.
Which we've
We've already
already done.
improved or upgraded.
Okay.
That's the motion and seconded.
And a second.
That was my second.
And do you think, just because you went out and looked at all 4 of those streets, do you think there's going to be a noticeable difference in coming from one, let's just say coming from Bostonian into Montecito, a noticeable difference in tone, light tone, going from the interior streets of 3,000 K to Montecito of 4,000? You think it's going to look funny?
For those paying attention, you will notice it. Most people won't. Because my daughter and I, there was on the demonstration, there was this one corner. And we would have to pull and stop, physically look, then look at our sheet, and they even identified them on the poles.
Okay.
There definitely is a different hue to it. But again, it will be a dramatic improvement. But we will have 2 different colored temperatures. The majority of Rossmoor, call it 90-something% of Rossmoor, will be in the same hue. We've just identified an arterial that's different. Basically, now my only thing is I still think that Wallingsford, as you come in, and Arco, as you come in, those ones I think are considered, in my mind, arterial, and I would want those also to be the same 4,100 myself.
Yeah, the thing about those 2 streets, though, you get a lot of ambient light from the apartments.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was
And the
another,
businesses.
and thinking about it, that was another reason why some of these schools, I said, their lighting was fine, because of the improvement to the school, the lights are on all day, all night. So, and they're bright. So you get a lot of, where some of the schools you don't. I'm just, the color, the tone, the hue, I don't know, I'm just having a problem with not being able to see it. I mean, I know what Montecito looks like, and I'm just, it's...
Montecito would look the same now.
No, I know, and then you would go inside, Rossmoor further, and it
So it's
would...
the same, well, no, it's a less dramatic difference than you have right now.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
it looks
Of
terrible
course.
right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought you went to the
no,
Cerritos,
you know what? I didn't go to all of those residential streets.
Yosemite, yeah, because it's all in the same kind
Yeah.
of block area if you come off Artesia.
Yeah. No,
Because I was literally thinking while we were motioning this is a big decision.
it is.
This is a 20-year
Yeah.
roadway
Absolutely.
nighttime plan. And if we need a special meeting in 7 days, 10 days,
Well,
for people, for you, if you're questioning this, and for Mark to actually go and see it, maybe Ron actually getting to the right streets. Maybe making a query to Claremont and all these cities of going, okay, at the time, have you had complaints?
Yeah.
Maybe we should postpone, even though there's a motion. Maybe we vote no on this, and a new motion is, we're tabling this for a special meeting where we all do a little bit more homework, staff included, board included,
Yeah.
and then come back and do it, because this is a long-term
Yeah.
Because
that
that's
I would
not
rather
bad.
take more time and come back,
Yeah.
the week after
we
Thanksgiving.
don't have a lot of time.
I know, that's what, yeah.
When is our deadline?
I don't know. I didn't.
Well, we have a certain place in line, and I'm sure that Mr. King will
Don't
work
they
with
have to-
us.
Yeah,
We are the customer,
I don't.
Yeah, if it takes us another week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I don't think we have much more time than that.
If we could do it quick.
No, you're
literally
probably
10
right.
days from now,
Here's
7
the
days from
other,
now.
here's the other thing to consider too, just to keep the hue consistent is, what if we increase Montecito to 153,000?
For me, I'd want to see what that looks like.
Yeah,
I
all of
want
us
to
would,
identify
yeah.
a city. And again, the beauty of the way Cerritos did it, all the blocks are right close together, and one of the blocks actually is the different Kelvin, the different temperatures, and you literally can see the difference. And
Impressive.
yeah. And again, from a popularity and aesthetic, it showed the citizens, and my daughter and I kind of agreed. The 4,000 definitely looks better. But we've got a scientific report that says that there could be issues with it.
And it may not
And
be
then the
issues for years.
The question I'd call Claremont is saying, okay, in 2016 you made this decision, here we are entering about 2019. If you had to do it again, what would you do? Because I could tell you from cities, Claremont and the Claremont colleges, they're usually taking the most conservative route when it comes to science and public health. And again, if we have to take, literally, I'm just saying a week.
Not surprised.
But it's got to be 2 weeks, right? Because next week it's Thanksgiving, so.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
would.
the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and we have an early Thanksgiving this year, so I say maybe we should just push this off, everyone do a little bit more homework and come back.
Does this need to be a special meeting, Tarkin?
Well,
I don't
we're
think-
scheduled to have this done in December and January.
Yeah, it has to be in November.
So
Oh, yeah.
we need to move, and I haven't talked to Southern California Edison. We've been exchanging emails. It's tough to get him on the phone. The guy's so busy with all these projects. So all I know is we're in the queue to get it done in December and January.
So what are you, Michael, what are you suggesting in terms of in terms of a meeting, a special meeting?
Yeah, a special meeting,
Last
27?
week in 27?
27, that's a Tuesday,
What?
right?
What more information will we have?
Well, we're all going to go down.
All gonna go see.
down.
Yeah.
They're going to, Mr. Mendoza's going to reach out to several of these cities and
Yeah.
see what was their rationale in,
Yeah.
choosing the 4,000K. Is there any complaints? Were they aware of a report, an AMA report? I don't know. I just, my concern right now, just on your motion, is having two separate colors, which we have right now, which again, it's going to be wonderfully bright, but is it going to be the absolute best? Where if we waited 2 weeks, could we have made a different decision?
Have you ever painted, you've painted your house before, right?
Yes.
Remember you agonize over those
Yes.
tiny little different shades of
And let me tell you the
yellow?
difference about that.
And then
Let me tell
you paint it and you go,
All I have All I have to do is listen to my wife. I don't have to listen to 10,000 residents, okay? That's the difference. And if my
This
wife,
is a 20-year.
if my wife barks too loud, I'll repaint it.
Now, my
But
point is that these tiny little, nobody is going to notice the color differentiation. Nobody's going to drive down Brimhall and then down Montecito and go, wow, I just had a cut. It seems like 1,000 Kelvin shift in color temperature.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm going to say Mark's the one that made the motion.
Well, I can tell you,
We
people
know.
are noticing right now the difference between the mercury vapor and
Yeah, what
Montecito.
but what they're noticing is the
Yeah, you
brightness.
kidding?
They're noticing the brightness, not the color temperature.
Well,
maybe
they're-
both.
They're both.
Both.
It's both. People are saying, why do we have orange lights and why are they white lights out there? I've heard that comment.
Yep.
And when is the rest of Rossmoor going to get? And I say, hey, we're working on it. I just know that this,
How are you going to,
well, no, because Mark brought, no, I am, the concern from a scientific standpoint,
it's a concern.
it is a concern. I would like to read that article, he got extra ones, I would like to give it a little bit more study because the safety and sleep patterns, it sounds bad, I really don't care about coyote sleeping or not or anything like that. But when it comes to this decision that we're making for the benefit of the community,
For
next
decades.
20 years, the last time vapor mercury lights came out was 1974. This is a big decision.
Yep.
And if anything, I wanted safety and I wanted prudence. And to me, the most prudent thing is for us all to look at it again, see what you think. Really have Mr. Mendoza call these cities, reaching out, asking if you had to do it again, would you go 3,000? And if all of a sudden we hear all these other communities going, oh my God, well, yes, we would, but you know, we've got 20,000 poles here in Claremont.
And I know you,
I'd like to hear something from each of them,
Yeah.
the more recent ones, in terms of their rationale in choosing 3
Absolutely.
versus 4.
Yeah.
And then also Edison.
I'm sure they went through these same issues.
Edison, I know you're giving them an option, but what is the best practice here? And by putting that off 2 weeks for the good of the community, I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. It is.
all right, so let's table this motion.
I'll withdraw the motion.
There we go.
Well, you withdraw the second,
Okay.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay?
And so
Can-
Mike has a
it-
substitute motion to,
Motion to
Well,
put
let's,
it on the table till the 27th.
is everyone's 27th open? We can set this right now.
yeah.
Yes.
Mendoza, is that,
That's fine.
okay? So we'll have a special meeting on the 27th evening?
Yes.
Okay? All
And
right.
anybody watching this on TV, reach out to the staff. They have a map of Cerritos. If you have input, this gives 2
And-
weeks for them to go out as well.
And thank you very much, Mr. Mendoza, for finding this. We did not have this information, certainly with the representatives from Edison when we were meeting with them.
Oh, no, they didn't
To
provide
where
any of
we
that.
could go and check this out. So thank you, Mr. Mendoza. This has been quite insightful, and I agree with Director Maynard where it's a big decision, and another 2 weeks hopefully will not hurt anything, but I would certainly reach out to Edison
Yes.
and just make sure, we'll have it. Can we give you the decision on the 27th or the 28th?
First thing. Okay.
Director Kaler will be able to.
That would be
Director.
good.
That'd be great if all
Yep.
5 of us were here.
Yeah.
President DeMarco,
Yes.
if I could be heard. I understand we want to have a meeting on the 27th, but you have the option of simply setting the special meeting and then rather than including the actual date in the motion, in case people's schedules change, that can always be done, set by staff. I just raised that for you as a possibility. In addition, we need to know the time of the meeting, but that can all be done after tonight's meeting.
Okay.
You've
All
just
right.
you've just made the motion to have a special meeting to consider this item, and we all understand that you want to have it on the 27th, but the actual time will be determined at a later date.
A later date, okay. So, was that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a second?
Second.
Okay. So the motion is to have a future meeting to discuss this, date and time to be determined.
Correct. Special
Okay.
meeting.
Special meeting to be determined. So motion, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? No? Okay. Okay. Anything else on this topic, Mr. Mendoza?
No, we're ready to
Okay.
go. We'll
Okay.
do our research.
So we're off to general manager items.
Okay, I'll be brief. Again, thank you for assisting me in the transition. I've met with each one of the board members here present one-on-one, and appreciate the time and history of Rossmoor and your concerns and some of the goals that you have individually, and thanks for working with me on that. I also want to say thank you to General Managers Ruth and Tabata, that they have been overwhelmingly cooperative and very informative, and I just want to thank them and our staff. And then to move along, in December, the Budget Committee will meet to review and update the 5-year plan again, and that'll be at the December board meeting. Staff recently met with the Parks and Facility Committee, President Marco and Board Member Maynard, and we will be coming back to you with some reports on upgrading our kitchen in order to possibly facilitate more rentals and make it more appeasing to caterers and to users. And also, I'm looking at a possible playground upgrade at Rossmoor. We'll be getting some costs and some analysis there, and we'll get a future report to you on that. Staff, again, Mary's removing those 2 trees at Rush Park. Want to make sure that was brought forth. I also had the opportunity, and I really appreciate her coming in with, I think she's still here, but Dorothy Fitzgerald, the RHA board member and chair of the Neighborhood Watch, came in, and unbelievable history of Rossmoor and the things she knows, and also, want to collaborate with her again on the Neighborhood Watch program and make our community safer, and also have a hand in it. And we look forward to that. Thank you, Dorothy. And then I met with Lena Lume with Chris. She's the executive director of the CEO of the Youth Center. As you know, they did our flag salute today, and she does an outstanding job, her and her staff. And they run our Rascals after school program. And just a FYI, it's to its max, and it has a waiting list.
Wow.
So we're in conversation, and of course we'll be bringing this back to the board with an analysis, and how much it would cost, and if there was any revenue to be brought in. But we're looking at Rush Park also to incorporate and to enhance that program, maybe add one over there. But it is you ought to stop by if you ever around the daytime. It's a great program. Meeting has been scheduled with Sherry Kropp this coming Thursday, just to meet and greet and discuss our modular unit that we're purchasing and bringing over. And so the bond passed, so they are probably going to be moving forward with some of their improvements. So there will be a modular unit available for us, and that'll enhance some staffing issues, and also maybe make it available, some other room available to our users. So anyway, with the meeting with Dr. Kropp, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do with future programming, and I was really happy to see this past weekend. I think President DeMarco was president of both events. I didn't see him, but his son was on the football team, the freshman football team, and they used Rush Park Auditorium for their award ceremony. And it was done really well, and it was good to see our community center being used that way, and by the local high school. And then 2 nights later or 3 nights later, the varsity basketball, freshman basketball, and junior varsity basketball had a tip-off dinner, and all their parents and all their kids were there. And I stopped in there, and I know the coaches, and it was just great to see it being used that way. So we're looking at talking to Dr. Kropp about, hey, how can we continue that? What do you need for us to continue it? Is it better kitchens? Is it better, whatever we need? We'd love to see more of that, and for sure, collaboration and use of our facilities. So anyway, that concludes my report. Looking forward to a great winter festival, and we're going to have some fun there. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Director Nagelman?
Yeah.
General manager items?
Apart from wishing everybody a very happy Thanksgiving coming up next week. Oh my gosh. Time flies. In your report, Mr. Mendoza, you had the section on communication. I know we rushed and we had a lot to cover. But you did mention outreach. And one thing I would like to suggest is that the staff put their thinking caps on and try to think of some more ways that we can elicit input from the citizenry instead of just waiting for complaints, waiting for something bad and which, we're fortunately, we've been very lucky here and we have excellent staff, so that doesn't happen. But I would like to get, and I think we discussed this at breakfast, I'd like to find a more formal and informal ways to get feedback from the citizenry on what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, for example, what recreation programs. I mean, we know what they're using, or at least we should, but we don't know what programs that people would really like to have that they have to go, drive to the next city to get. So I'd like to just kind of know that we are satisfying the desires of the community and not just doing what we think they want, but actually doing what they think they want. So that was my only comment, and thank you.
Thank you. Director Maynard?
Welcome aboard, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you.
You've done a very good this is your first job solo here with us, and we appreciate what you've brought to the table. Just a heads up is next board meeting I will not be in attendance. It's my daughter's Christmas concert with her school. I make it a point not to miss those things. So there's also a bit of a challenge I brought up to Tony is technically you're going to start a meeting with only 2 board directors, because technically as of December 1st, you're not a board member until you're sworn in, Mr. Nidickman. So same thing with Director Kahlert. So I'll let you and Tarquin figure out that. I wish I could be at that meeting. So the next time I will see you, gents, outside of the special meeting come up, will be at our Christmas event, or I should say our winter tree lighting event. And again, if we can get our new assemblyman to come, a personal invitation would love for Tyler Depp or Deep, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but if he can come, that would be great. And again, Thanksgiving's right around the corner, time to be grateful. I'm grateful for Rossmoor and the community and having the privilege of serving up here. Yes?
Since you brought that up, if I may,
Yes.
the attorney here, is there an opportunity to swear the 2 board members in at the special meeting we're going to have regarding the lights?
Well, actually, we were trying to get Michelle Steele, our supervisor, to come on that date with Tim Whitaker. You might want to coordinate with him and have her actually, as our supervisor and someone we want to work closer with, have them actually swear in our new directors.
Yeah,
Tarquin?
that's good.
Any comment on the swearing in and not having enough board members prior to the swearing? I don't remember ever having that issue.
Yeah, neither do I.
Well, so we have 2 board members that need to be sworn in, correct?
Yeah, and Director Maynard's not going to be here.
Correct. So you'd only have 2 sworn board members, and this is at the time of our special meeting. Is that?
No, the
This would be
special meeting, there'll still be board members. This is for December.
Right.
So is there an issue with opening the meeting, swearing them in?
No, that's ceremonial.
Okay, so I can open the meeting?
You can open the meeting, swear them in.
Then do
and you
roll
have
call.
enough. Then do roll call.
Okay, easy enough.
Problem solved. Thanks, Tarquin.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
It must happen all the time.
Director Casey.
Thank you, sir. First, I'd like to thank Lieutenant Rich for a great presentation on the crime statistics for our community and elaborating on quotes how well we're doing vis-a-vis other communities. So that's reassuring to know outside of the crimes of opportunity. Also, to thank our staff on their presentations tonight, that the way that our new general manager segued through each of them so that they could present the topics of their expertise. I think that flowed very nicely, so thank you for doing it that way. And I'd also like to welcome you aboard. Everything is very smooth transition. We're going to be doing very well under your leadership for the foreseeable future as I see it. So I think everything's going to go very well, very smoothly. And lastly, I just want to mention that please have your thoughts and prayers with all the people in the fire-ravaged areas. I know my brother and his wife and family were evacuated twice from Westlake Village, and a lot of their friends and neighbors lost their homes, although my brother did not. So everyone, especially there and up north where they're having all the deaths, they need all our support in this time of great tragedy to try to get back to some sense of normalcy as soon as possible. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Mendoza, fantastic first month. Great agenda. You came to Rossmoor hitting the ground running.
Thank you.
Have just a lot of positive things in my mind about you. I know you're going to do a fantastic job, but thank you very much for the great first month. I also, and I appreciate this, Mr. Mendoza, and hopefully we continue to do this, but that was fantastic that Sharon Butterfield and the three kids came in and did the Pledge of Allegiance. That was outstanding. We probably should do that more often. It's very nice to have someone in uniform right after Veterans Day, and we certainly appreciate all of our veterans and certainly all of our active military people in this country protecting our freedoms and rights. And I too would like to thank all the firefighters and first responders to all the fires going around the state of California, and certainly also the victims of the Thousand Oaks shooting. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all those family members. Very sad situation on both the fires and that situation, Thousand Oaks. And I was at our auditorium here twice for my son and saw Mr. Mendoza twice, and I think it's an opportunity. Him and I spoke about this, that I usually go outside of Rossmoor to go to these school events, put on, paid for by the booster, paid for by the parents of the teams, but we have facilities here, and I mentioned I forget, I don't know how much it cost, but we had food, catered in, which was, several $1,000s that we should look into possibly. And we had two of them the same weekend because the basketball one fell through, and my wife helped him. Well, why don't you go try Rush Auditorium? And, it's vacant a lot. So we should look into this. So thank you for agendizing that on your own agenda. I think it's something that would be helpful to the school district, the teams, and also Rossmoor and RCSD. I do have one question about because the football, I was in charge of lights. These lights are on the same circuit.
I noticed that.
They're all on the same circuit.
Yeah?
So you got to turn all of them off, not just the spots. It's kind of...
We need to.
Yeah, we
change
need
them.
we need to look into possibly recircuiting that.
Notice they're different temperatures, too.
Yeah, no,
my
they
goodness,
definitely are.
look
These
at
are
that.
very warm.
Yeah.
Do we have 3,000 and 4,000 in here?
At one time, we were supposed to trade these out for LEDs at one time.
No, I think
Really?
some of them
Mayor's
are.
looking into that, yes.
No, at one time, the whole LED, when we first started talking with Doc
Yes.
Johnson, it was even doing these.
Even
now.
doing these? Yeah.
It'd be cooler down here.
So, on another note, I got a very nice note from Ann Prey She came to one of our tree committee meetings, and we helped resolve her issue with her tree. And I can tell you, I won't read the whole letter, but she underlined listened, that we truly listened to her.
Yeah.
So Mark and I were on that committee, and we made Ann very happy. So she sent a note. I wanted to thank her for sending us a note. So I also want to wish Rossmoor a happy Thanksgiving, and we will certainly going to have another meeting, hopefully resolve our lighting issue for Rossmoor, which is a very, very big deal.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of benefit for all of our residents and visitors and kids that live here. And I will see everybody at our Winter Festival. So with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.